Trouble in Paradise podcast is intended for mature audiences. This means you will hear realistic adult language such as and go off. Audience discretion is advised.
What is knob polishing?
You're gonna make me say this. I am a neglected man.
I like to think that I look like a jack, even though my name's really Bob.
Does he have danglers or something?
Well, it's time to go do them lighthouse duties.
Sitting in the cheese at the old Walmart to cool off.
That should be the headline. Man tasered in the nuts after stealing beef.
Yeah, but you're not gonna sit in the cheese. You're not gonna sit in the cheese, and you're not gonna put rib ice down your pants either.
House cleaning is,
I don't know about that.
secondary. So what is the Viagra triangle?
Possibly we aid in your digestion.
I don't know if his little hand is smaller than his little ears or what.
Aw, well maybe he has a syndrome.
Want to go check out my RV? It's parked right around the corner.
Because I'm pretty sure that I saw some moose knuckle.
No.
There is absolutely some moose knuckle going on.
My swampy friend. What the hell is a swampy friend?
So they're not going to get any scraping on their shaft.
Yes, I'm going to do a downward dog.
Okay, pretty lady. You had on those gosh darn sexy leather looking shorts.
Ladies and gentlemen, and assholes, gather around. It's time for another action-packed episode of
Trouble in Paradise.
Hi, I'm Nigel Kent.
And I'm Jasmine Starr.
And welcome to Trouble in Paradise.
Our show is a free-thinking, open-minded podcast discussing conspiracy theories, the paranormal, true crimes against humanity, plus our favorite only in Florida stories. The content presented by Trouble in Paradise contains speculation and conjecture and is not intended as educational material or advice. It is therefore not misinformation and does adhere to YouTube's community guidelines.
It does adhere to YouTube's community guidelines. You know what it doesn't adhere to?
What's that?
Regular old rules. And I think we're going to break a few tonight.
I think so too.
This is a special bonus episode of Trouble in Paradise. With us is my beautiful, wonderful Lynn Wallingfork. Welcome to the show, Lynn. Everybody jump on the live chat. And we are going to talk about something that is guaranteed to blow your mind. If you haven't heard of it yet, I recently came across this information and was simultaneously pissed and flabbergasted all at the same time.
I know. When I saw it,
It's a shaker-upper. So if you're not ready to be shaken, then turn the video off right now. Or if you're listening on the podcast, you may want to go back and listen to our previous episode about the Apollo missions first.
Yeah.
I think that was episode 53 or something. At any rate, Jasmine Starr, I know that I can reach you at Jasmine Starr 239 with a Z and two R's. How does our audience get a hold of us if they'd like to interact?
if they would like to reach us, obviously we're here on YouTube. Hit and like and subscribe to our channel, and please join in on the live chat. We like that.
Yeah, we like the live chat on YouTube.
Interact with us. Instagram, we're at Trouble239. Twitter at Tipcast239. Email us at trouble@trouble239.com. Our Patreon is Trouble239. If you join, we'll send you some super cool stuff in the mail. And audio versions are available on all major podcatchers, especially, please
Apple.
give us, hit us up on an Apple Podcast. Give
Jasmine
us a
Starr
5-star
needs those reviews. She needs those reviews. The
Nigel.
5-star. I just sounded like Frankie McDonald for a second, didn't I?
Nigel Ken needs the reviews.
Needs.
He needs the reviews.
Frankie McDonald says, be prepared. So be prepared for our talking points tonight, which are going to be about the Space Shuttle Challenger and some very, very, very weird shit that has recently, not so recently, surfaced about the mission commander of the Space Shuttle Challenger.
Yeah.
Which, well, let's just say the guy's alive and he's living in Chicago, or at least that's what the evidence would present. We're going to show you some photographs, go over a couple things about that. Jasmine Star, directly behind us is a very bright window. Would you care to tell our audience what in the heck is going on with our studio tonight?
Right. So if as anybody that follow us, they're used to our green screen. We obviously don't have our green screen. We are in Pensacola tonight. On a little vacay road trip, and we have a little background. So if you happen to see some people walking by, we have no idea what to expect during this podcast. Because honestly, from the outside looking in, we are lit up like Christmas Vacation. And anybody walking by definitely can tell
that we're doing something in this hotel room.
What we're doing. Yeah. So
I wouldn't be surprised if one or two people stick their head in through the window during the course of the episode.
Yeah, so it could be very interesting what might happen. And as always, we've got a couple dogs with us, so they may interject.
They may object to the heckling if there's any heckling. So do you have you ever been heckled in the past?
Yes.
What was your heckling experience like, Jasmine Star?
With the podcast?
No, I mean, period. Have you ever been heckled in life?
Of course I have.
And what was that experience like? What happened?
Well, there's been many experiences.
You've been heckled many times. I've been heckled. Listen, I'm an old-fashioned professional heckler. I've been heckled all the time.
No, I'm always. I'm.
I know what it's like to be heckled. I swear.
No, I'm like a target for being bullied.
Yeah, well.
So I don't want to get into some of the details.
Well, have you ever been face pied?
Have I been what?
Have you ever been pied in the face with a cream pie? Serious question, though. I mean,
I just
so it's safe to say you've never been cream pied. Have you ever been?
Please,
move
on.
I don't understand what's happening right now. I
move
guess. On. Have you ever had a shoe thrown at you by a stranger?
No.
Okay, I don't think you've actually been heckled.
No, but I've been bullied.
I know you've been harassed online.
I've been bullied. Actually, as of a couple episodes ago.
That's true.
If you read the comments and everything. So.
Yeah, that was mighty big asshole of whoever wrote that. But that wasn't heckling. That was just being a dick. Like, heckling is when it happens in person. And okay, I don't know what's so funny, but apparently that Italian food that we had about an hour ago had a little bit of humorous ingredients in it. It's starting to kick in right now. So, Jasmine Star 239 on Twitter. I am Nigel Kent 239 on Twitter, and she told you how to reach the show. Tonight we are going to talk about something that Jasmine texted me quite by accident less than a week ago. I was just waking up the morning after she sent me this message, and it was a direct message which contained a very, very outlandish conspiracy theory about a gentleman by the name of Richard Scobie. I'm going to go ahead and show this gentleman's picture right now. And this is, apparently his picture is blank. Can we see it now? Okay, we can see it now. This is a guy named Richard Scobie. He is on LinkedIn, and you can see that he, according to his LinkedIn profile, lives in Chicago and is the CEO at a company called Cows in Trees, and that he attended Northern Illinois University, and that he has 294 connections on LinkedIn. Not bad, right?
Yeah, not bad. I mean... Seems legit.
Seems legit. Nice blue background, photoshopped background, really.
Yeah.
She's got the Intel background with no background items showing.
Right.
So it's either a professional photo or it's really photoshopped, and I'm thinking more of the latter. So the interesting thing about Richard Scobie is that he is also a board member for an organization called Veterans Path to Hope. Have you ever heard of Veterans Path to Hope, Jasmine Starr?
No, I've not.
So Veterans Path to Hope is it's an organization that helps vets. And I'm not exactly sure how they help vets, but it's a nonprofit dedicated to veterans' interests. Now, it says on his biography as a board member that he has worked in brand management for Planters Peanuts and Butterball Turkey and owned his own branding agency, Cows and Trees, for 32 years. He's a consummate brand strategist, and his vision elevates brands to new heights, grounds them in marketplace realities, and benchmarks them for growth. Richard understands the way people want to engage and be engaged by a brand. His marketing, branding, and communications leadership has led to increased brand awareness, preference, distribution, sales, and profits across B2B and B2C clients. Importantly, Richard has successfully launched new brands, revitalized overlooked ones, and generated brand success continuation. His passion includes his wife, which we're going to get back to in a minute, his children and grandchildren. In addition, he's fearless on the golf course and has achieved his lifelong goal of getting his instrument-rated pilot's license. That's also an important detail. Richard Scobie, amateur pilot, ladies and gentlemen.
That's very interesting.
It's very interesting. Okay, so he's got a BS in marketing management and an MBA from Northern Illinois University. Northern Illinois University. Then we bump over to Richard's Facebook profile. Not as many friends over on Facebook, but he is, again, the CEO at Cows in Trees.
Okay, so it's
consistent.
This
is the same guy, right? Looks like the same dude.
Yeah.
Same guy as we see in this other photo over here.
Yep.
Fair to say that he looks the same.
Same as the LinkedIn profile, or the Cows and Trees.
All right, with 3 different photos of the same guy, though, right?
Yeah.
There's one. There's another. Wearing the same outfit. This is from the same session. Same outfit, same hairstyle. I would be willing to bet that these 2 photos are from the same session. And then you've got this third one. Same outfit. So Richard is really, really fond of taking photos in this outfit, which is a black blazer with a white Oxford shirt. All right. Now, his Facebook says that he was CEO at Cows and Trees, North Barrington, Illinois, and that he studied at Northern Illinois University, where he got his BS in marketing and a BS in management and an MBA. Then you go to the Cows and Trees Facebook page. This is the page of his advertising agency, which he founded. And it says, "Hello, friends, November 2nd, 2016. This is 2 days before the 2016 election, which Trump came into office, coincidentally. Also, the last post that this company ever made. Cows and Trees is now formally moved our digital properties. You can view our fully integrated capabilities with the Noble Communications family at www.noble.net. For healthcare, thought leadership, and experience, visit noble.net/life. Now, the comments are, "Please stop, Dick," followed by astronaut. And then there's another comment by a fellow named Sean, who posts a screen grab of a side-by-side photo of the mission commander of the Challenger space shuttle mission in 1986.
Yeah, and this is the,
which is a picture of what appears to be a very legitimate younger photograph of this guy, Richard Scobie. Now, if this guy isn't this guy's son, then I don't know who he is, except it's in reverse, because this is the old guy now, and this is the young guy back then. Francis Richard Scobie. And interestingly enough, this new Richard Scobie, who he reemerged in 2016, goes by Richard F. Scobie. That's also extremely convenient.
Right.
Now, I mean, do you want to kind of compare some of the facial features of these two photographs and tell me if you see any remarkable similarities, Jasmine Starr?
Well,
one of these
everything pretty much looks like the same. I mean, either we go with the fact that, are we going with the fact that doppelgangers do exist, that we all have this twin, and that how odd are the chances that something like all of these synchronicities happen, or the fact that this gentleman has been hiding out underground, essentially. But he really hasn't been hiding out. That's the whole thing.
Well, he had been hiding out. And so the only record of this guy online is from 2016 onward.
Right.
He has no online activity prior to 2016.
Right.
And more specifically, 30 years after the Challenger disaster.
Right. So we talked about, we mentioned the Challenger disaster in our Apollo 11 podcast that we did. And
we were talking about how terrible it made us feel when we watched it happen.
And brought that up. Now, when I saw this post and started to see, the possibility that some of these astronauts were actually potentially still alive, to think that this could actually have occurred made me start to once again question the narrative. And it was like, holy crap. I don't
know how you can't question the narrative. This guy, if he's not Richard Scobie, then he is his doppelganger. But here's the thing. How many doppelgangers have the same middle initial as your old first name, which was not a first name that you used before, the same birth date, the same age, ostensibly. The only thing that differs about these two men is their background story.
Right.
One of them grew up in Washington, and the other one grew up in Illinois.
And the other thing that we talked about were the ages that we were when we witnessed the initial explosion.
The Challenger disaster?
Right.
Yep.
So I was in second grade. You were in third grade.
Yeah, third or fourth, yeah.
So, looking back on it, we would have believed this.
Well, here's the thing.
So
maybe we should replay that for some of the younger members of our audience who did not have an opportunity to experience the Challenger disaster, or the way we experienced it. But what was it like for you? Why don't you step us through what happened that day and what you remember about it?
Well, I mean, I just remember being spending probably 2 weeks at least, learning about all of, the excitement surrounding the fact that a teacher, Krista McAuliffe, was going to be going up in the space shuttle. And this was a huge, big deal at the time.
It was called the Teacher in Space program.
This was like the first time that a civilian teacher was going to go up, and
first American civilian.
So this was a big deal for us. So, at least in my school, we had a whole, lessons that we were learning about this. And then they brought everybody together that day into the library. We had one TV that was on like rolling wheels.
Isn't that funny? Like one TV,
right?
Big ass tube TV, probably a 19-incher.
Yes, and they plugged it in, and everybody's sitting
for the whole classroom.
not just the classroom. I mean, it was like an entire, everybody was there sitting in the library, and we're all sitting there Indian style as children.
So the whole school library.
And we're all huddled around.
A 19-inch TV.
And I remember I actually remember teachers crying whenever this happened.
Yeah.
And
I remember students crying.
And as a child, just being just awestruck, like not even understanding knowing I witnessed something tragic, but not necessarily understanding what I had witnessed. But at the same time, it was something that was definitely quite influential in history for us.
How did it make you feel? Can you liken it to anything else that you felt in your life at that time?
At that time, no. The next closest thing I can honestly say that I ever had feelings that would remotely come close to an event like that in my lifetime that I would remember the next one would have been 9/11.
Oh yeah, me too, for sure. So the picture that I have up on the screen.
Now I can say I question and believe both narratives to be hoaxes.
Yeah, I do too. It's extremely difficult. And here's the thing. We're looking at one guy. We're looking at Francis Richard, or Dick Scobie, is what he went by when he was mission commander for that Challenger mission, which you see photographed on the screen there. That's the photograph of the orbiter and fuel tank exploding, and the two solid rocket boosters flying off of the explosion. The possibility of humans living and remaining intact there with liquid oxygen exploding in midair is very, very unlikely. Yet NASA claims that they retrieved all bodies from the bottom of the ocean floor and that their remains were returned to their families. Don't you think their families are a little bit pissed off that one of the crew members is running around on LinkedIn and Facebook with a little advertising agency that nobody's ever heard of doing healthcare messaging type of advertising?
Oh, yes. But no doubt we witnessed an explosion.
Absolutely.
We absolutely witnessed an explosion.
So they didn't die, or at least he didn't. And he has no scars, apparently.
Right. So now this gets you into thinking, okay, it gets me questioning everything.
It really does, because how the hell does a guy live a lie for 30 years?
Well,
I mean, it's clearly him.
It takes you into where we talked about the call with the dubious, our episode that we had, the dubious flight of Flight 93 with CeCe Lyle, and the fact that there was the plane possibly had landed.
You're talking about United
Right.
93 and the airplane, or somebody from the airplane called and left a message on an answering machine terrestrially that said it's a frame. So a passenger of United 93 called her husband and left a voicemail that said, "Hey, this is fake."
She was the flight attendant.
Oh, CeCe Lyles was a flight attendant. That's right. That's right. Yes, I forgot. We did that episode. So everybody go back, do the
I mean, we've done these episodes along the way, and now it's like all of a sudden, like all of this.
There's a lot of dots to connect.
Is starting to kind of like connect these dots where you're starting to go, okay, the
What's
narrative,
real?
The narrative here, yeah.
What's left that's actually real?
Yeah.
Baseball? Is baseball real? we hope.
This one really makes me question. I mean, we just did, like I said, we just did the Apollo one. So this makes me also wonder now. It's like, is it possible that we witnessed people sitting in a simulator? And
you mean for the Challenger?
For the Challenger, were we actually watching somebody, a crew sitting in a simulator, going up, and then actually watching a rocket launch?
Well, they didn't show the they didn't show any footage from the cockpit during the launch. They only showed exterior footage. There were photos from the cockpit that were taken and released, but they weren't during the launch or anything like that. So,
but didn't we see them walk on, if I remember, or no?
Yeah, you saw them walk on. They did that for every space shuttle launch,
right?
So there's this. So this kind of leads into another thing, that there's this deeper, broader conspiracy theory about the shuttle program, where some people believe that they never put humans on a space shuttle ever, and that all of those scenes that you see taken from outer space were shot underwater, to simulate zero gravity and under special lighting conditions and so forth, to make it look like they were in deep space. Now, I do have a problem with that conspiracy theory, because there's also footage from the space shuttle that has UFOs in it that's quite compelling. And it's kind of, I think it's a little weird to think that they could actually fit UFOs in a swimming pool or wherever they claim to have done. Now we also know that they've also done underwater film, though. They did underwater film for the shuttle program during training exercises and things. They taught them how to operate in low gravity using underwater. Yeah.
Now, the UFO footage, though, those were taken, though, from low Earth orbit. Correct.
Yeah, so there's a number of competing theories here. There's a theory that the shuttles went into low Earth orbit and had astronauts on board the shuttle, and that's the generally accepted narrative. That's the mainstream narrative, is that, yes, we put shuttles in low Earth orbit, and that they took people to the space station, which is also in low Earth orbit. And I don't think anybody has enough evidence to really controvert any of that. But there's also all this evidence out there that NASA is filming and releasing propaganda to the masses. And it's sickening to think that there's a strong possibility that nobody was aboard the Challenger on January 28th, 1986. And it's not just Richard Scobie. This is the real bombshell. 6 of the other 7 crew members, or 5 of the other 7, including Richard, also have doppelgangers.
Exactly.
Which is really, like, we're trying to keep it PG again? Or are we going back to saying F-bombs? Jasmine, are you trying to get us on FM radio or not? I can't remember. What's the current strategy for us?
I've been a good girl and have not been using my favorite lingo, because I've been trying to lock down that 98.5 that slot, but
you can't cuss on the real airwaves,
right? So, but
there's less censorship going on.
Lord
there,
help us if they listen to that last episode, because you were swearing like a sailor.
So, a couple quick housekeeping items. We took care of well, let me take it back a step. Our episode 51 was censored and deleted by YouTube. It was a episode where we talked about a subject that you really did a lot of homework on, which is this, what was the guy's name? Bear?
Dr. Roger Lear.
Dr. Roger Lear, who was a podiatrist who removed apparently alien things from people's bodies who claimed to have been kidnapped by aliens.
He's written several books. His first book is called Aliens and the Scalpel.
And so that we made a couple of speculations about the similarities between the shit that he took out of people's bodies and some of the approaches and technologies that are being used in the COVID-19 vaccines. And boom, gone. They removed us. They told us that we were recommending COVID-19, that we were giving COVID-19 medical advice.
This is not true. We
appealed
were
it.
not
We
giving
lost.
advice.
We lost our appeal within a couple of minutes of submitting
And actually, this was...
So episode 51 is gone. So what I'm trying to convey to our audience is that the audio version of episode 51 is online. It's on our podcast feed, so you can catch that episode. That's housekeeping item number 1.
Can you tell I'm still a little...
She's pissed about it. I'm pissed about it too. And then the other episode that we were having trouble with was episode 54, which was what was episode 54? That was the one before last. That's the one
Surfside.
Surfside,
yes. Pardon me.
The Surfside condominium collapse in Miami, which we talked about the multitude of surveillance cameras around the Surfside neighborhood, which all were pointed at that building, but we never got to see what was on them. Mm-hmm. That one we had trouble getting the audio version of the podcast out there with some weird stuff. I don't want to call it coincidental, but it was pretty weird that we couldn't get that one published. Anyway, long story short, that one is fixed. Episode 54 is out there on YouTube and
That's correct.
on the podcatchers. And of course, episode 55, which we just did last Sunday, is out there for everybody to enjoy as well.
Yeah. And for some strange reason, a link for the Illuminati popped up after that. Thank you for...
Is that YouTube that did that or Instagram?
That was YouTube that threw that up there. And
did we even mention the word Illuminati during this?
No, never once was that ever mentioned, and that's why I'm just still scratching my head. Why on earth was a link?
The show was 6 conspiracy theories that came true, where we musingly talk about 6 different conspiracy theories that actually turned out to not be theories. They were just the truth.
Yeah, and these are documented things, and for whatever reason, a link for this popped up under. If you go into that episode, it'll show you, just like everything else nowadays, when you post something and you get the little link, with the recommendation for accurate information.
They decided that we were talking about the Illuminati and wanted to make sure you get the Wikipedia article on it.
And here's the crazy thing about this, all right? Because when did I tell you I had a dream? It was before that episode.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, well, they're listening to our conversations.
No, but I'm saying though, I had a dream.
Yeah, it was a day or two before.
Yeah, I actually had a dream in which that actually came up in my dream.
And by that, you mean the Illuminati.
Yeah.
This one will definitely get us flagged because we've actually said it now 5 or 6 different times. So what we're looking at on the screen here, just to kind of take the wheel and steer back to our main subject, is we have...
Steer us back.
We have the gravestone of F.R. Dick Scobie, Commander, Space Shuttle Challenger, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Air Force. He was born on May 19th, 1939, and he succumbed to the Challenger disaster on January 28th, 1986. He is buried in Arlington National Cemetery, where 8th graders from all around the country go on a field trip. Except he's not. So how do you reconcile that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you reconcile that one?
I would just love, and please, if there's somebody who knows this gentleman, please leave us a comment.
Or if you feel, send us an email, trouble239.
Please email us.
And if you want it private,
we can
say
keep it completely anonymous.
Yep.
But we would love to get to be like, hey, you've had interactions with this gentleman, and the people who have left comments under his Cows and Trees. We would love to hear from you because obviously you've had personal interaction with him, and it would be, I think, something that we would be very interested to hear your take and point of view on.
Mm-hmm. Or anybody that happens to have the 1957 Auburn Senior High School yearbook, where he ostensibly graduated. This is in the state of Washington. So any Auburn Senior High 1957 alums, probably fewer and fewer of you out there, thanks to that Rona. But, so this is Scobie's career. I mean, he was in the Air Force his whole career. He was a mechanic. He was an engineer. And then all of a sudden he dies. And his wife, June Scobie Rogers, I guess has remarried, it would seem. She kind of still carries the torch for his death and still kind of does appearances and so forth. Whenever they have to raise money for some foundation that's related to the Shuttle disaster or these people that died, quote unquote, air quotes, died in January of 1986. So June Scobie Rogers was his wife at the time of his Challenger explosion. But he's now married to a different person entirely. How would you feel, Jasmine Starr, if you were the wife of a man who you were convinced was dead and that you had gone out and raised money for all these great causes, and then all of a sudden you found out maybe he's not dead? I mean, how would that make you feel?
How would it make me feel?
Yeah.
Well, I would say one of two ways. Either I would feel like crap, or either I would say I was working as an operative.
Mm-hmm. And so you are speculating that that June is some kind of a government intelligence official?
I'm not speculating anything. I'm just stating how I would feel.
Well, because Richard Scobie today is married to a woman by the name of Linda, who is not the same woman. In fact, she appears to be a little bit younger. She also apparently went to North Illinois University, and also apparently lives in North Barrington, Illinois, which is the city where Mr. Scobie's company, Cows and Trees, is located. Now, according to his Facebook profile, he actually went to Niles West High School, which doesn't provide a link. You know how usually you can link through to the school? No link. And, there's some real old-timey kind of shit on here. There's one post. I realize there might be more stuff that's actually private, but he's posting about some kind of a championship parade that happened in 2015, and he's got some pictures where he went to dinner and he tagged his wife. All right, Bob Chin's Crab House, the best Mai Tais. Somebody posted. So, this is all like very harmless sort of Facebooky kind of stuff. But the problem is that's all there is. There's 2 posts and that's it. Like if you're going to change your settings midway through, why wouldn't you? And so then his wife's Facebook profile, Linda Scobie, even though she's tagged on his profile and she has 56 Facebook friends and 20 likes on her photo, her profile was only created at the end of 2014, just in time for this guy to make his triumphant return to the public limelight. Although here he is on September 26, 2015. He's doing this old-timey thing where, elderly people say, I do not give Facebook or any entities permission to use my pictures and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Remember when that crap was going around?
Yep.
And people were worried about security and this and that.
Yeah.
And that's that. A couple pictures of his woman. Some happy birthdays for some people that they apparently know.
Yeah.
Happy New Year from 2012, North Barrington. A little bit of fake history here.
Yeah.
2011, granddaughter.
The only problem is if you put that disclaimer and you have it as a public post, it means nothing.
It doesn't mean anything anyway, because when you sign your EULA, you give up all your rights, including the right to change your mind later. But, you know, his Facebook posts go back to, 2009. He got married. Got married on April Fool's Day. Okay.
I wonder if that's the truth.
He posts a couple things about some current events. The guy has a grand total of about maybe 15 or 20 Facebook posts over a period of 10 years. Okay, this is the guy who's the CEO of a big-time media company. All right, now I haven't even looked to see if he's on Twitter, but his Facebook is nothing. And his Cows and Trees Facebook page, let's see, it started on July 15th, 2016. No, I'm kidding. It started a little bit earlier than that. Let's see how far back it goes. Do the old scrolling maneuver on Facebook here and see how old Cows and Trees actually is. This is the organization purportedly owned by Richard Scobie, mission commander of the Space Shuttle Challenger, which was destroyed on January 28th, 1986. So I'm just scrolling back through his professional Facebook page for Cows and Trees. And it does seem that he was super interested in Facebook messaging, and specifically messaging related to medical issues and the practice of medicine and things like that. So I assume right now that Jasmine Star is looking up Richard Scobie to see if he's out there on Twitter.
I am.
Judging by, Twitter is such a cesspool. There's no way you could survive on Twitter without getting outed. But it's interesting because he's been outed on Facebook. There's 2 or 3 people that have posted, "Hey man, you're a fraud." And yet he's still hanging in there on Facebook. He just quit posting. It's like he just disappeared. So anyway, Cows and Trees, that is the organization that is apparently owned by Richard Scobie, former mission commander of the Challenger, Space Shuttle Challenger, January 28th, 1986. I don't like it.
No, I don't.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
And it's... How much... Okay, would you bet... Assuming double or nothing, would you bet every dollar you have that these are the same men? If you had God's knowledge to verify it with?
If I had God's knowledge, I don't want to word it like that.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, if you knew beyond any doubt whatsoever, in other words, if you knew that it could be verified by somebody with that knowledge, would you bet double or nothing, every dollar you have, that that's the same guy?
Yes.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's just extremely damning to me. When I look at it, it seems very damning to that.
And it's not just, we only touched on him, but there's a little iffiness in some of the other photos and everything.
Well,
but
to talk about that for a second, what is the iffiness that you're talking about? Because I'm going to do something to this photo that's going to make you say, nope, not iffy anymore.
Are you talking about between the Judith Resnick and...
No, I'm not talking about the other crew members. I'm just talking about the main man, mission commander.
Okay.
Richard Scobie. You keep going, because this is going to take a second for me to do. I'm going to have to pop into another program. It's a good thing that I can manipulate with my computer while we're streaming.
Well, you're a lot better at that than I would ever be in a million years.
Trying to be. What was iffy about the photograph that you saw, though?
Well, there were some similarities between some of the other astronauts that they were trying to compare likenesses to. Christian McAuliffe to another person today, and another Judith Resnick to another person to today, and make
And you
several.
didn't think they were as compelling?
There were quite a few similarities, but they really haven't emerged in the way that this gentleman has. Really, like, if I can use the word, been so cavalier in the way that he's come out.
You mean having a super high profile?
Well, can we say high profile? I mean, he's really not. He's kind of kept himself. If I would venture to say, if I'm reading him as somebody that were a shuttle commander, he's somebody with a big ego, that for him to try to keep his silence, it was like, okay, yep, my time's up. My 30 years.
So in other words, you're saying that he entered into some kind of secrecy contract.
My time's up. I served my time. And I can talk about it. Like, I cannot not talk about it, but I can essentially come out of the closet now.
I can reemerge.
And step my way out. And here's this company that nobody really knows about, that has nothing that you can really find much information on. You have people that are commenting on his social media, telling him, stop. They actually use the word astronaut.
Yeah. And yet he's not commenting back.
There's not a rebuttal.
Right.
And he has it's his page. He has the power to delete those comments.
He's a high profile dude.
It's Facebook. You can delete those comments.
You can. Yeah, but he's not allowed to. I wonder why.
Why wouldn't he want to do that?
It makes you almost wonder if he was an intelligence asset to begin with.
But then that brings you to, why did they do it? And that's also the bothersome part of all of this too. If this did happen, and this is true, what is the motive behind it? Because it's sickening.
Yeah. Well, that's the question of the day. To recognize and realize that these are the same dude is the first step towards ever figuring that out. But I want to just I noticed a couple things about the comparison of these two photographs. So the photograph on the right is the picture of Dick Scobie when he was mission commander. And the picture of this gentleman on the left is Richard Scobie, a.k.a. Francis R. Scobie, CEO of Cows and Trees. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple things I wanted to point out. I mean, they both have a very deep line under their cheek on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. They both have both of them have an indented incisor. So the tooth next to their two front teeth is pushed back. Both the younger and the older have that. Their hair part, I mean, this is kind of splitting hairs, not to...
Right.
But get the pun. But their hair part is in the same spot. But then what kind of had me doubting it was the way the left side of the younger Scobie's smile ticks up a little bit more than the right side or more than the left side of the older Scobie's smile. So then what I did is I went ahead and just flipped him around. And now you've got that same freaking, it's like a mirror. You can see the eyeball droop, everything. It's just the same.
Yeah.
And their chin is the same. I mean, these are the same guys. Mm-hmm. Make them stretch them out. Make them look a little bit skinnier. It's the same dude. I mean, there is no doubt. he's just older. Same everything, same nose. He's got a little more cartilage now because that's what happens when you're an old man.
Yep. Ears and nose.
Yeah. So, you were mentioning about the other members of the Challenger crew. Now, there was one member of the crew who never, he has no doppelganger, and that's Mission Specialist Jarvis, I believe was his name. Mm-hmm. And he's the only one that has been, quote unquote, found. The others all have somebody out there that is very, very suspicious.
Right. And then that's where we had a discussion of motive. What could have been the motive? And is there a possibility that they could have been working on something? Was it a funding thing?
So let's go through those. Let's
Okay.
go through those. You put out the idea that maybe these, quote unquote, Challenger astronauts were actually working on other things,
Right.
for the intelligence apparatus or for the Air Force or what have you, and so they were. What was your theory there? That they were working on other stuff. Like, how did we formulate that?
Well, I think that in order for them to be in that kind of a position, I mean, they are highly intelligent, highly educated, and they're very,
They're trained from the moment they're born.
Physics, mathematics, science.
Psychology.
There are so many different avenues that they're trained in. Well, I didn't even think even that's kind of going down into the
political theater.
Well,
avenue.
and how they could hide out because, they have that
Mesmerizing power. They've been given somehow the ability to just cohese with other people and just blend in anonymously. Like, okay, so this guy is the CEO of a marketing company. How in the world did nobody in his 30 years in absentia say, hey, man, you look an awful lot like this famous astronaut that went on multiple space shuttle missions? Think
about just how many people in the general population, okay? Take all of this aside. Just think about like how many stories you hear like about a man that's living a double life. He's got like a wife in one city and a wife in another city, and he's living like these.
He's running his life like he's the CIA. Yeah,
like completely different lives, and these women are completely. Like they have no idea. So I mean, this isn't something that doesn't happen.
In other words, you don't have to have like a national government behind you in order to pull off some level of deception and secrecy. People do it all the time, and whenever it happens on a big scale like this, we get all surprised.
Right. So I mean,
well, you know how many freaking children they manipulated with this story, though? Here's my theory on that.
Okay. Well, okay. And then I'll give you my theory.
You give me your theory first. Go ahead.
All right. I feel like that this has to do with. Oh Lord, here comes. Where the disclaimer has to come at the end.
May as well just say the disclaimer now. This is speculation and conjecture, and it is not intended as educational material or advice in any kind. It therefore does adhere to YouTube's community guidelines.
Thank you. I feel like that we have been programmed since birth, and that this and just as our parents were, and just as our grandparents were, and it continues on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Programmed in what way? Is through media and through pop culture and celebrities and things
everything.
like that? Okay.
We have been groomed. We have been groomed, and we have continued to be groomed to believe this narrative. This narrative continues, and it's becoming to be dangerous. So what we got to witness as children was just a part of the grooming process of control, of power, of what it's like to experience fear, to experience trauma, to leave an imprint on a child's mind. Those kind of things. And then what's the response?
Well, the basis of MK Ultra was using fear and terror
Absolutely.
to obtain control over one's actions and political opinions.
Right.
So Lynn on the chat made a pretty good point, which is why didn't they just kill all the astronauts when they found out that the shuttle had blown up and that they knew they weren't on the shuttle? Why didn't they just kill them all? And that was to your point about what you were saying about, well, maybe they had other value.
Because I believe they were working on something else.
Yeah, or they were as frontline actors.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, some of the most powerful people in the world are actors. And even Ronald Reagan was an actor.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so like it's a big deal.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes. So
I mean,
these people are, so acting is part of the show that these people put on. So yeah, maybe they had other value. Maybe they were working on other things. Could they have popped up in other places?
Donald Trump, he just had a reality television show. Did people forget that?
True. Yeah. The Apprentice, right?
Did we forget that he was just on television?
Did we forget that he also did Celebrity Apprentice as well, during which he got a bunch of his buddies together?
It really is like something that is.
It's troubling.
So yeah, to answer her question, I do believe that. So yeah, they were actors. I agree with Lynn as well. Those were all actors. Well, I wouldn't say all.
They certainly played a role, though. They spent the last 30 years of their lives acting like something that they weren't. That takes talent and dedication.
Yeah. There were several actors involved in that. And you're going to see those people also, crisis actors. One will be behind bars, but he's been a crisis actor in, he was
You're talking about the guy that showed up on the 6th, the skinny, light-skinned dude that posed as a Trump supporter? We'll have to cover that. We're talking about the January 6th riot, which we're not going to dive into.
No, we won't go into that, but...
they're all over the place.
Right.
Yeah. To Lynn, our chatter's point, yes, the crisis actors they're definitely all over the place.
Right.
So I think the key to understanding the Challenger disaster is to try to answer the question, what were they going to do with the Challenger mission? Clearly, they didn't know that thing was going to blow up. It was not a false flag in that sense. But I think
they intended on blowing it up.
I don't think so.
I do.
Well, then why? How could all these people then still be alive ostensibly 30 years later? Why wouldn't you just find people who agreed to permanently disappear and or kill the actors like they did to any other patsy throughout history? Oswald didn't shoot JFK, but he's gone. And they made damn sure of that. Why wouldn't they have done that in the case of the Challenger?
Well, why do you have doppelgangers except for one still around?
Well, these aren't doppelgangers. That's the dirty one. These are the actual people.
I'm just saying. I'm using that as a kindly.
Doppelganger. I just and microphone. Anyway.
I'm using the term loosely whenever I say doppelganger, but
But what were they supposed to do though? You think that they intentionally blew the ship up? I don't think they intentionally did.
I do.
I think they lost control of it. I think it blew up by accident, and then they scrambled to create a cover story in which they had to lock these people down. And my guess is they had them under arrest for a long time. They probably put them through a lot of bullshit. They were either willing or they weren't willing. If they were intelligents, they were probably willing. And I think some of these people were intelligents to begin with.
I think almost all of them are intelligence.
They may have been. There's a lot of theories about Judy Resnick that kind of. Well, we're going to have to do a little mini series on the shuttle, on the Space Shuttle Challenger and the shuttle program overall. There's an excellent documentary out there on BitChute by a guy who has pretty good evidence that he thinks that there were never anybody on any of the shuttles that actually went into space, and that they just deposited all of the shuttle debris back into the ocean and then filmed everything from a deep dive pool.
Just the amount of crap that one has to go through to be in military intelligence alone. Yeah. And I know this from personal experience.
Are you my handler?
I know this from personal experience. Stop that. Now
you know that it takes a lot of training and so forth to get into military intelligence or intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah. It takes a serious commitment, and in many cases,
but
it's
they go
a generational thing. For example, Dick Scobie's son is also an officer in the Air Force.
They go back to interviewing kindergarten teachers. Mm-hmm. What were they like when they were in kindergarten? Did they go to detention? What were they like as growing up? What were their friends like? Who did they hang out with?
Yeah.
They go to their childhood friends' houses, interview the parents. I mean, that is just in military intelligence. Now,
and it's not just intelligence either. It's just officers, period. I had to give an interview for one of my kids' friends' dads who was being promoted to officership in the Coast Guard, and the FBI came to our house to interview me about what I knew about him before his promotion. And then he got promoted and left his wife and moved away.
Well, that's a happy story.
It's not actually that happy, but anybody who's watching that may or may not be knows who I'm talking about. But at any rate, so.
Oh, look who just popped on the chat.
Oh, we've got somebody new on the chat. Who is it? It is. Oh, it's Sydney. Yeah, it's the same dude. It's the same. So, listen, somebody's been low key.
Yeah.
Now we're getting that reflectivity though, because we just lost our light.
Yep.
So it's difficult shooting a live stream through a window that has light coming in through the window. That's what we figured out. Yeah. So anybody that is watching, and it actually looks a lot better now. The light balance is way better now than it was a minute ago. The camera just adjusted. Mm-hmm. But it is tough to shoot video through a window where you expect the stuff in the background to be seen. And in the first 10 minutes of the show, first 10 or 15 minutes of the show, somebody definitely acted like a jackass out there and was waving stuff. Did you see when that happened?
I missed it.
It was pretty funny.
I don't know. I've tried not to look out there. Just the people walking by alone was enough to be distracting to me. So
yeah.
So I get my little squirrel moments whenever somebody walks by.
So it doesn't take very long in the rabbit hole on this one for things to get real weird real quick. Say that 5 times fast. real weird, real quick. So if you get a chance to, do some homework on it, everybody out there. And
Hash brown.
The dog just took advantage of us. So we're in a hotel room in Sarasota. The dog is not allowed on the bed, and she knows that we are podcasting right now.
Yes.
And so she jumped in the bed. So she's going to get in big, big trouble. But you know what we like to do?
We like to stay out of trouble.
We like to stay out of trouble. And so to everybody that joined us on the live chat tonight, we are here every other Sunday. I know it's not Sunday, but we had to do a special fun episode.
We did a little pop-up episode tonight.
A little bonus material for all y'all. So it's from Florida to Texas and from Florida to Ohio. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble and make sure you reach out to us, trouble@trouble239.com. Jasmine Starr's got some extra info that we have to share with you.
Yes, the content presented by Trouble in Paradise contains speculation and conjecture and is not intended as educational material or advice. It is therefore not misinformation and doesn't adhere to YouTube's community guidelines. To reach us,
you misinformation.
Blah, 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 blah. To reach us, you're here on our YouTube channel. Hit that like and subscribe button and join us in the live chat. Instagram, Trouble239. Twitter @Tipcast239. Email trouble@trouble239.com. Especially if you are one that knows Mr. Scobie. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, if you know Scobie, get on the email, please. I know that's probably going to imperil you and endanger you and possibly us, but before we die, we'd like to actually break the story. So.
Well, yeah, or before we get deplatformed.
Or if you just want to be anonymous and talk about it and help us feel a little more sane, if you need us to be quiet about it, we will. But you can email trouble239.com.
Yeah, it can be absolutely anonymous. Patreon, Trouble239. Audio available on all major podcatchers. Please, 5-star rating at Apple Podcasts. And
Stitcher, Spotify, you name it. We're out there. All right, everybody. And how do you turn this thing off?
The Trouble in Paradise podcast is intended for